Hello. Well, here we are. Tomorrow will be the official 1 month mark to the day that I landed in Saudi Arabia, and it has been a really, really lovely month. That said, it is 6:30 in the evening. I just got home from work a little while ago, and I'm not planning to go anywhere. I'm not going to the gym. I am not going out of the house. I'm not going for a walk. Maybe I'll go for a walk in a little bit. Today is a day. It's one of those days where I just wanted to come home, close the curtains, and not talk to anyone or not encounter any other people. Not that that sounds really bad. Let me take a sip of my tea. It's not that bad. I say that, but it's not that bad. It sounds very dramatic, but it has just been one of those days where, like, even the most simplest things have gone completely haywire and wrong, and we've got further delays for Matt and the animals to get here, and I'm feeling a little bit sad, actually. So I thought this is the perfect time for me to come on here and just talk about some perfume, because it makes me happy, and I haven't really filmed anything new in the last week or so. And yeah, I just want to get out of this sort of funk mindset that I have. I guess the update is that yesterday I thought we had all of the admin sorted and that we would be perhaps booking a flight for Matt today to come, and that the animals were effectively sorted out, notwithstanding there's, a few little bit of administrative steps to organise. But today we found out that actually one of the vaccinations the animals need has not been done. And even if Matt can get them into the vet tomorrow, it has to be a minimum of 30 days post this particular vaccination and a maximum of 180 days. That's the window that they have to travel within. And yeah, I'm really gutted, actually, that it's going to be at least another month before Poppy and Fritz can join us. And, I really truly thought that we'd be able to get them on a plane in maybe 2 weeks' time. But now it's a minimum of 4. And I'm feeling really sad about that. Also, I'm starting to worry about the timing, because the weather's going to start to get hot. There's a good chance they may have to stay home in Australia for another 6 months or so until the hot weather is over. Anyway, we will put that to the side. I'm otherwise really happy here. It's a lovely place to live. It definitely has its quirks, but so does everywhere. And the thing that really strikes me here is that the way people speak to each other here is so soft and gentle and just delightful. I've just been navigating life here effectively, and it's been pretty limiting because I'm still trying to finalise my driver's licence here. I do have an international driver's licence, but that kind of limits me in terms of where I can take the rental car, because they're quite specific about, you can't take it beyond a certain point until I get my local driver's license. Also, I've kind of just been waiting, like hanging around for Matt to get here, and I haven't really been actively planning anything on the weekends, because part of me wants to discover things with him for the first time. So I don't want to see everything before he gets here. And by everything, it's not possible to see everything anyway. But I want to wait till he gets here to do stuff. And also, I'm not planning anything for the weekends, because every week for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been thinking, oh, he's going to be here maybe in a few days' time. So I haven't really done anything or seen anything. I've been into Jeddah a couple of times to get stuff for the house, things that I need, but I grossly underestimated how long this process was going to take. I kind of had it in my head. It was a long process in the lead up to get here, and I thought that would culminate or end, or the pain of that process would end maybe like within a week of me getting here, basically. I get here, get my paperwork done, and then everything's fine. But that's not how it has worked at all. And as I'm discovering when I talk to other people, it's the same everywhere you go, and everything takes way, 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 way longer than you think. This is week 4 and I'm still filling out administrative paperwork to get certain documents and things together. I still haven't got my driver's license, and I think there's just one more step for me to be able to get that. But it has been truly draining. And on my first day in the job, my boss sat me down. He said, just take your time, go slow, there's no rush. And sure enough, within a few days of me being here, I was like, right, I need to get stuck into work. I need to do this and I need to and the exact opposite of what he told me to do, basically. And I started getting really embedded on projects and doing things and thinking that I could handle it all. And I'm getting to week 4 now, and I'm probably more exhausted than I was in week 1, because I guess the shine of the excitement of having just landed in a brand new country has worn off a little bit now. And don't get me wrong, I love it here and I'm very glad that we've done this, and I don't regret it at all. But I'm just tired, and I'm kind of just wishing the days away until we can live a life that's kind of normal, because even when Matt gets here, he's going to be going through the same thing I've just been through, only the processes that he has to go through take even longer because he's the one that's not on the work visa, which means we won't be able to leave the country during that time, and we'll be quite limited in what we can do, like I have been for this time. So it's definitely a test of patience. But what makes it so much better is the people. They are so kind, so generous. The other day I was in the office and I was talking to somebody about coffee, because Saudi has an amazing coffee culture here. But where we are is kind of isolated from the cities, and the cities is where you get kind of, I guess, the really good coffee. And here, the little cafes that we have, they're not bad. It's not terrible, but it's not great. And I don't know, after having been making my own coffee at home for so long, I wouldn't, my standard of where a coffee needs to be in order for me to happily pay for a cup is pretty high now, I guess. And so, but my dilemma, of course, is that the coffee machine's not here. I haven't had a French press. I literally just bought a French press online this week and it arrived. So I will be able to make French press coffee, which is fine. But then the next challenge is finding the beans that I like. So it's all just, this is part of the fun, really, is to experiment and find new things. I do really love the Saudi coffee, and some people call it Saudi tea, I think. I think it's the same thing, but it's beautiful. It's like really strong cardamom flavor. Not a very strong coffee flavor. It is kind of like a tea, I guess. And sometimes they add a little bit of sweetener to it, which is really lovely, even though normally I wouldn't ask for it. And it's good. It's really good. So I was in the office, we were talking about coffee, and one of the local guys was overhearing me having this conversation with somebody about coffee. And literally the next morning he comes into my office, he goes, come with me. And he takes me into his office, and at his desk, he opens the bottom drawer and he's going, here is where I keep my coffee, and here's the coffee grinder, and here's the, filter and all the filters, and you can come and have my coffee anytime. And I was just so taken aback. I'm actually tearing up just thinking about it. I'm in a bit of a state today. It was just such a lovely thing. And the way he did it was just, it really, truly warmed my heart. And I was so grateful. And so I really, really hope that when Matt comes, he's allowed to bring in the bags of beans that I've asked him to order, so that we can share some coffee with my colleague as well. Oh man, I don't know why I'm tearing up. It's because I'm feeling emotional today, but emotional in a good way, except for the fact that I'm missing Matt and the dog, and now I'm not going to see the dog for a couple of months. So anyway, I thought it might be a good idea for me to just sit down and give you a bit of an update, a chatty video and an update, just to let you know where I'm at. I have put some stuff up on TikTok, but I know a lot of you aren't on TikTok, so which is fine. The only reason I've started posting on TikTok is because TikTok seems to be a little bit more forgiving of a slightly less polished production. And so I'm able to just, grab my phone and talk without having to feel like I need to set everything up and, tidy myself up. Although I did not tidy myself up today because I literally have the only thing I've done is change my pants. I got out of my jeans and into my comfy pants to sit on the couch. Anyway, I just thought it'd be good to just sit down and film a little video to give you an update of where I'm currently at, and also to just fill you in on how the videos are going to roll out, because there is probably going to be a bit of jumping around. So what I'm thinking is that I might upload this video now, and there is a video that I have filmed talking about the perfumes that I brought with me. So it's a video where I'm unwrapping all of the perfumes from their bubble wrap after packing them. So you will get to see everything that I brought. And then I might revert back to the vlogs and everything else from last year, the declutters and everything, I guess, leading up to where I am right now. And on that note, I thought I might quickly just run through the perfumes that I wore this week, which will give you obviously a bit of a preview of some of the perfumes that I brought with me. And then I might just talk about a couple of other products that I've been really enjoying, and that'll be the end of this video. So what I wore this week, the perfume I'm wearing today is Pikovaya Dama by Xerjoff. Now, I had a moment with this definitely last year, and I think maybe the year before, and I absolutely love this perfume. I sort of stopped wearing it for a little while just because it just got lost amongst the hundreds of perfumes that I had in my cupboard. And now I don't have hundreds of perfumes in my cupboard, but I have some that I really, really adore. And I have to say, this was at the top of my list when I was contemplating what to bring with me. So it's a really beautiful aldehydic ambery type of perfume. It's got a really lovely ambery vanillic base, and the aldehydes are kind of waxy but not too waxy, but there is something very smooth and cooling, and I want to say crisp, but I don't think crisp is necessarily the right descriptor, because crisp also might conjure up images of, the really bright sparkly aldehydes that people might be familiar with, but that is not what there's. Buttery. It's kind of buttery, and they're beautiful. It's a really, really gorgeous fragrance. It's one of my favorite fragrances in my wardrobe. So that is Pikovaya Dama. Wore that today. Another one I've worn a few times since I got here is Embruns D'Lang by Guerlain. And I love this. This is a really bright, fresh, green type of ylang-ylang perfume. And it smells very perfumey. It smells really pretty and elegant and feminine. And I do get compliments on this one. And I'm definitely not the type of person to rave on about compliments. But this one, when I wore it a few times towards the middle to end of last year, I got a couple of compliments on it actually. So that is Embruns D'Lang. Sadly discontinued, I think. The next one I wore this week quite a bit. Actually, I've worn this a few days in a row. This is Dia by Amouage. This is the beautiful, soapy, aldehydic floral, and it just smells so fresh. And again, it's aldehydic, but it's a little bit powdery. It's a little bit bright because I guess some of those aldehydes with the florals The florals are kind of old school soapy, really, really pretty, and obviously quite clean smelling because it smells like soap, a really fine, high-end luxury soap. And it's really wonderful to wear in the hot weather. So that is Dia by Amouage. One that I wore at the beginning of the week, but which, you know, may start to not be worn quite as much going forward, is Musc Ravageur by Frederic Malle. This is definitely one of my favorite musky ambers, and it does have a little bit of a kick to it, but nothing too challenging in my opinion. And in fact, I remember thinking that this was really challenging when I first tried it years ago, and over time I don't find it that challenging at all. It sort of feels more like a lovely vanillic musky amber with a little bit of cat fur or something thrown in there just to give it that little tiny edge. But it is a beautiful perfume. However, as it gets warmer, there's a good chance I may not reach for this quite as much. But that is Musc Ravageur by Frederic Malle. I am trying to speed this up now because I'm just thinking about the fact that I have to edit this video quickly so that I can upload it on the weekend. The next one is Parisian Musk by Matière Première. I have been wearing this a lot, and I'm loving it. I just think it works so well here. It's got that kind of powdery, musky, fluffy aspect to it that seems to be a very popular scent profile here. People really love powders here. And I'll tell you a story. I was in a big shopping mall last weekend in Jeddah, and I was trying some perfumes and some perfume oils, and they had like 4 or 5 different varieties of effectively a powdery musk. And they were all really pretty, but I was just like, how many versions of a powdery musk do people need? But it's so popular. Anyway, Parisian Musk, a little bit green, kind of like this almost earthy edge to the muskiness, which is probably the ambrette, which I think is how ambrette often comes off for me. And I just love this. I think it's fantastic. It is definitely my favorite of the Matière Première line. I'm not sure that there's any others in the line that I would bother purchasing now. And I do have a bottle of French flower at home, but that did not make it here. So this is the only one that survived the cull, and I am not mad about it. So that is Parisian Musk. In fact, did they do an extrait of that one? I don't remember. I can't remember if they did an extrait of that one. If they did, I'd be willing to try it. Okay, the other one that I have been wearing a lot, probably not going to be a surprise to you, but it's 1957 by Chanel from the Les Exclusives line. And I mean, I probably will need to get another bottle of this at some point. I've kind of been flip-flopping on that idea for several months now because I kind of knew, I mean, obviously I can tell that I'm really going through it, but at the same time, it is really quite expensive for effectively a musky perfume. But it is just so pretty. Again, you've got a touch of aldehydes in there, the sparkly kind to kind of lift those musks. And it's just so pretty. And there have been a couple of days where I have actually sort of layered these two together because I like the sort of just slightly sweeter edge of the 1957. And I feel like the muskiness in here really just sort of amps up the muskiness of the ambrette in Parisian Musk. So they were the perfumes that I have worn this week. I haven't worn any samples or anything like that. I have made a purchase while I was here, and it wasn't a very extravagant purchase by any means, but I did buy a couple of perfume oils. I can't tell you what they are because there's no label on them or anything. And in fact, when I was at the stand, they decanted perfume oil into these little ones, but they had these big containers or vials of perfume oil there, which is what they were using to show people. But even they didn't have names on them, and the girl couldn't even tell me what these were called. Effectively, this is I'm hesitant to say rose oud because I don't think it's necessarily oud, but it's like a woody rose with a bunch of florals, and it's quite sweet and syrupy as well. There's definitely sort of a vanillic aspect in there, and I actually really, really like it. The florals in here are quite substantial, and it's not just rose, and they really balance the woody element of this fragrance very, very well. So it's not too, if it is oud, then it's not too oudy, but I have a feeling there maybe isn't that much oud in here, but it's more kind of just woods. Anyway, so that is really lovely, and this stuff is so potent. It lasts all day. And then this one is also very, very strong. This one is more saffrony and bright and light, and there's florals in here, but I think there's also a bit of citrus as well. But because it's a perfume oil, it's not like a bright, juicy citrus. It's more of a kind of an oily citrus because it's a perfume oil. And this one feels very fancy, as in quite formal. And I really, really like this one. Okay, so the other two things that I have been really enjoying lately, I went into the Sephora store in the mall that I was in last weekend. And because I just wanted to look, I just wanted to see what they had that I've never seen before, or maybe things that I've seen people talk about online, but not something that I have ever had access to. And I'm not just talking about perfume, I'm talking about skincare, hair care, makeup, you name it. So one brand that did catch my attention was this brand called Salt and Stone. Now, when I looked at them, I thought they look familiar and they look like something that I've been wanting to try, but I couldn't remember if this was actually the brand that I wanted to try. In any case, Salt and Stone, very, very happy that I've tried this. This is a deodorant. It's only a mini size. I think they might have only just come to Sephora in Saudi Arabia. So this particular store only had the minis. It didn't have the full size, which I was okay with because I was just trying them. I've never smelled them before. But the scent of this deodorant is neroli and basil, and it is so good. It is really, really, really good. It's probably the best smelling deodorant that I've ever had. My only gripe with it is that, I don't know, I seem to use it up really, really quickly because I've only been using it this week basically, and already the level has dropped quite substantially because the creamy formula of it is quite soft. But it is a solid deodorant, but the formula is quite creamy, so it does sort of glide onto your skin really nicely. But the basil in here is gorgeous, and I'm definitely going to repurchase this in the full size when I use this up because I really, really love it. And then I also bought this body wash, which when I saw the title of the fragrance profile, I just saw cedar. So I thought, oh, it'll be a nice woody or light sort of woody scent profile. But when I got home, I realized it says saffron and cedar. And if I had read it properly in store, I probably wouldn't have bought it because I probably would have thought immediately what this might smell like. And I would have been correct. It does smell like Baccarat Rouge 540. However, I actually, as it turns out, really enjoy the Baccarat Rouge 540 scent profile as a shower gel. Because you get that sort of blast of sweetness in the shower. It's not too cloying. It's not too overwhelming. You don't have a bunch of florals in there as well, which sometimes, to be fair, first thing in the morning, that's not what I want to smell first thing in the morning. So this is like, it's got a bit of sweetness to it, kind of spicy, slightly woody, really clean smelling. But the beauty of shower gel is that once you've rinsed it off and gotten out of the shower, you might have a lingering scent in the air, but it's not an overpowering smell that stays with you. And I have been really enjoying this, and I just find that interesting because had I read the name properly before I picked it up off the shelf, I probably wouldn't have bought it. But it has been a happy discovery because, yes, even though it does smell exactly how I would have thought it would smell, I'm actually really loving it. Now, I don't know if Maison Francis Kurkdjian does body products in the BR540 range, but just saying, this is probably a much more reasonably priced alternative to body products with that scent profile, and it's lovely. So I've been really enjoying that. And that concludes this video and the list of perfumes that I have been wearing this week. I hope you have had a lovely week, and I'm sorry I was a little bit emotional at the start of the video, but as I envisaged, talking about this stuff has indeed cheered me up. I have a smile on my face now, and I'm not having to force it. So I'm really glad that I decided to sit down with you and talk about perfume this evening. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.